Hi, it's Tracey Campbell here with a process video for Confessions of a Paper Addict design team. Today I'm going to be using a mid-November cut file release called Scratching Post. Okay, to start off I chose this background paper. It's going to just be an outline underneath a 12 by 12 cardstock. It's from the Paige Evans collection called Bloom Street. I chose it because of the colours of the blue in it really match the pyjama bottoms that my daughter's wearing in the photo. Okay, what I did do is I just sanded off the perforated little tabs on the top because it's from a 12 by 12 paper pad and it perforates the top of the paper. And I cut out the centre so that I've got this excess paper to use on another layout. I've trimmed off the white cardstock to make it a little bit smaller just so that the edge of the blue and green paper is sticking out from underneath the base of the page. Okay, to add a bit of contrasting colour, I chose Colour Blast Colour Shimmer Spray in Sunshine and gently poured a little bit onto the white cardstock and used a paint palette to spread it around, giving it a nice fine coat everywhere. Bit of a messy look. The Colour Blast Colour Shimmer Spray's got a really nice shimmer to it, so it's kind of glittery without using glitter. It's not as messy as glitter. Okay, next up I grabbed some colour paste from Colour Blast by Beati, and I've used a stencil of small little stars and just spread it through with a colour palette knife as well. Right, on to backing my cut file. I'm using the majority of papers from the Bloom Street collection. They just seem to complement each other and really went well with the photos. I have added a few extra colours like the purple that you can see, which is from a really old Christmas collection. It's just got the right colour purples in it. And I back my cut file by drawing on with a light lead pencil on the inside of the cut file and then using a pair of scissors to fussy cut around that pencil line, leaving about 1 mil on the outside of the paper line. Now I'm just going through. You'll see me just do this quite a few times as I decide what colours I want to use and how I'm doing the backing. And I'm using 3-dimensional liquid as my glue. I found that this works well. It's not too messy, it doesn't get sticky straight away. It gives me a little bit of time to move the pattern paper if I need to, and it's easy to clean up and it dries nice and clear, so it's quite good. Just as I'm filming this, we've actually lost our cat in the photo. She went for a wander 2 nights ago. She's usually inside cat, but I was away and somehow she got past my husband and my daughters and managed to go outside, and she hasn't returned yet. So I've been busy ringing around all the neighbourhood vets and the pound and RSPCA to see if they've had a cat turned in, but no luck so far. It's been a bit wet and miserable too, so I'm hoping she's curled up somewhere, and I've taken many walks looking for her, so it's a little bit sad, and we're hoping that she just turns up out of the blue, but none of the neighbours have seen her. Anywho, back to my page and my process. So it's just a matter of choosing what colours I want to use. I tend to put the die cut down on my paper and have a look at where I envisioned I'm going to be backing using that colour of the paper, just to see if it does go with the rest of the colours that I've used. Sometimes if you're using a darker colour, you need to use it a few different times on the die cut just so that it ties all in. For example, in this die cut of the scratching post, the green, the darker green that I've used on the hole of the box where the cat goes in at the bottom of the scratching post, and then the top of that is a little bit darker, so I matched that as well. I used it twice is what I'm trying to say, And if you use the colour more than once, it tends to tie them in a little bit better and make them complement each other. So as you can see right now, the dark of the pole is actually a little bit standoutish than the rest of the colour, but I team it with the flat of the second scratching post and it ties it in nicely. Sometimes when I'm trimming, I get a bit trim happy and I leave too much of the excess paper on, so I do have to trim it down, but it's easy to work it out and cut the trim right against the edge of the die cut. You can see here I'm trying to decide what colour I want to use for the little box at the bottom of the first scratching post. Now I'm going against everything I just told you before about using the colour once or twice, because I've just added a little bit of extra blue that isn't really included in the rest of the colours that I've used already. But I decided to use the blue because it's very similar to the blue border that is around the outside of the 12 by 12 and the blue star colour that I've used through the stencil. So it ties in the whole layout together. Now, just moving it around, positioning my photos and the cut file into a position where I'm happy, and I'm going to use a bit of double-sided sticky tape as well as a three-dimensional coat on the three-dimensional glue liquid to stick it down. Now I'm using the three-dimensional glue as well as the double-sided sticky tape because when you adhere things to a multimedia page, it sometimes just doesn't stick properly with just the 3D tape or the double-sided tape. So I've just positioned it lightly, and then because I have used the dimensional liquid again, it just gives me a little bit of time to lift it up and play with it and move things around and get it to the right positioning that I like. Right, so I want a really long title for this page, so I've pulled out quite a few different thickers. Now I've got the inspiration for the colours from the thickers from the backing papers that I've used on the cut file, and I realised that I actually don't have enough letters in this purple to form the word that I want, which is meow, so I'm using a 3 as a W, and I also don't have a T, so I'm using a Z and a V to trim down and to create the letter T. It just gives you a bit more flexibility if you're willing to do this. It doesn't quite look as neat on the page, but I like to use all my thickers that I can, and sometimes when you run out of vowels or letters that you need, you have to be adaptable, so I tend to cut and trim and create my own letters. Just going to see me use a few of the different ones and different colours to create the title. I'm going to call this one "You have to be kidding me, right meow." Kind of a bit of a word play, and it's all based around the fact that my cat actually got onto my daughter's lap. Now my cat, I say she's my cat, she doesn't really like children and has always been my little baby. I've been the only one who can nurse her and hold her, and every now and then she surprises us and we'll let the kids give her a bit of affection, and this is one of the days that she did that. And it was only probably about 2 weeks ago now that it happened. So Paige was stoked and very happy to think that Missy was warming up to her. And so now with Missy missing, the household's a little bit sad. Just playing around with the positioning of where I'm going to put the title, just getting it right. Being a long title and I've got a lot of white space there, got quite a bit of room to play with. Once I'm happy with it, I actually do use the three-dimensional liquid again to adhere the letters down. Even though they've got sticky backings, I tend to use another adhesive as well, otherwise I end up with all the letters at the bottom of my page protector after a couple of months. It just makes sure that they stay in place. Just cutting out some really old Heidi Swap plastic alphas that I've had for years. I tend to revert back to them when I am using blues and greens in my pages because they're such tiny little dainty letters, and they've got a really nice effect on the page. Here I go, just sticking them down. Now, while I'm adhering them down, just to let you know that all the cat files are available at the Confessions of a Paper Addict Etsy store, so you can find it at etsy.com/New Zealand/shop COAPA cut files. So make sure you pop in and have a look at all the wonderful cut files that Virginia has designed. There is a new release at the start of every month and halfway through the month. And I do hear that December's going to be pretty special, so you might want to pop into the store or the Facebook page and see what's going to happen over December. It's going to be spectacular. You're going to love it. I'm not going to give you any more ideas or hints about that. You can just pop in and find out. Almost finished adhering the letters down. And adhering the tiny little mouse, which is part of the cut file, because all cats love little mice. Now, journaling. So I'm just going to quickly write down the story of how Missy plonked herself into Paige's lap, and just going to do it over onto the bottom left with a black marking pen. The journaling reads, Missy had always been standoffish with the kids, so imagine our surprise when she flopped into Paige's lap and demanded to have a pat. Just a once-off for Paige, but she will remember it always. So just a sweet little memory. Hopefully we have more days where Missy will do this and that she will come back. Now I am going around the outside of the mouse cut file. I decided that I didn't have enough of a difference between the background and the mouse, so I've just used my black felt pen and gone around it and given the mouse a bit of eyes and nose. And that is it. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you visit the Etsy cut file shop for Confessions of a Paper Addict.